Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm your host, Todd Nesloney, former teacher, elementary principal, and now the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership at TEPSA. And each week, I look to bring you a different guest who has encouraged, inspired, or challenged me in one way or another, and allow them to come on and share some of their story in hopes that it inspires you to share some of yours. I am thrilled this week to have my special guest, Emily Paschall, on with me today. Emily, tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, Todd, for having me. This is such an honor, and I love watching these every week and just learning about new people each week. So thank you for asking me to do this. I really appreciate it. I am assistant principal in Athens, Alabama. This is my first year as an assistant principal. This is my 10th year in education. And so my first several years I was in the classroom, and I had the opportunity to teach first, third, and fifth grade. And I ended my classroom experience as a third grade teacher. Mm-hmm. And then I became our elementary district math specialist for my school system. And so in that role, my office was at our central office, but I was in schools every day, and got to spend a few years just going to different schools every day, meeting different teachers, and learning about different ways that people teach, and getting to support them. And that was a great, great experience. And then this year, I'm in my first year as an assistant principal in the same school system. And I've loved every job that I've had. I've never just been looking to leave a job. Other opportunities have just come open. But man, I feel like I've hit the sweet spot.
That is so
love
awesome.
my job.
So when you were growing up, did you always have that teacher mindset, like I'm going to be a teacher when I get older?
Yeah, I always knew I wanted to do something with people. I just love, people and getting to know people and just having relationships with people. So as a kid, I always said, yeah, I want to be a teacher. That was always my go-to thing when I would write about it in elementary school. But then when I got in college, I really thought about going down the psychology route or social worker for a little while. And then it just kind of hit me one day that in education, you get to wear all of those hats. And so one day I thought, no, I want to be around kids and adults too, with parents and coworkers. And then you get to wear all the hats. You can be the counselor, you can be the teacher, all of it. So very thankful that I chose.
That's awesome. So this is your first year as an assistant principal, and you've held the role of teacher, you held the role of coach. What are you learning so far is one of the biggest differences, or something totally unexpected about this new role for you?
Oh, one of the biggest differences. Unexpected. Man, I just had, that's a tough one. I mean, there's just so many good things. How do you narrow it down? Yeah. But I love that in this role, you get to just wear so many different hats, and just the support that you get to be in this role, and how you get to still be that instructional coach. You still get to be that teacher, and now you get to be a mentor. Yeah. And then the relationships that I get to have with kids, that it's different. You still get to have those relationships with kids, but it's in a different way. And, when kids come to my office for positive or negative reasons, that one-on-one time that I get, with the kids, that sometimes you don't get in the classroom when you've got 25 kids in the room, and some of those conversations that you might have missed out on that I get to have now. But I just love, I love the idea of, it's just a support. You are just there to wear any hat that you need to wear, and to support everybody involved, whether it be the teachers or the kids or the parents. And it's just a you get to do it every day, and it's great. I love it.
I love that. Well, you're also quite active on social media. You've got this hashtag you're using all the time. Tell everybody a little bit about that hashtag and kind of why you are really passionate about sharing so much of your journey online.
Yeah. Well, when I first started, I just was, I was craving the social media. I thought, oh my goodness, who else is out there doing the same thing as me? And, what can I learn from all of these people? And so I was just on there. I was just craving to learn from others. And I was on an island. Assistant principals are on an island. And it's a wonderful role, but there's a lot of times that it can be lonely. And you don't have anybody else in your school that has the same role as you. Right. And so I was on social media just craving that. And one day, Adam Welcome called my school.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like the second week of school. No, I think it was the first week of school. And I was standing at the front office, and someone said, "Hey, somebody's on the phone with you for you." And I said, "Well, who is it?" She said, "Adam Welcome." And I thought, "What?" And so I ran over to my office, and I was like, "Hello." And and so he just had a lot of questions and was just wanting to check in and see how my first week of school was going. And he challenged me. I talked about, being on an island. I loved what I was doing, but man, I have so much to learn and I don't know who to reach out to. And he said, "Get on Twitter and start a group," and he just challenged me, start a group for assistant principals, get off your island, which is a chapter in the book. And so he challenged me to do that. And I did it that weekend. And I got on Twitter and I said, "Hey, if you're an assistant principal in an elementary school, let's start a Boxer group and work together." And so it has just been an incredible journey. We have hundreds of people from across the world.
I love that.
And every single day we just get to interact with one another, and we get to have candid, real and raw conversations. Sometimes, "Hey, I'm going through this. What would you do?" Or, "Hey, does anybody have a mid-year data sheet that you can share with me?" We've just got so many endless things going on, and it's all in real time. And what those people have just done for me to jumpstart my career as an assistant principal, it's been a huge, huge blessing for me. And so I'm just grateful for that. And so now we've got a hashtag going, and it's the Elementary ELEM AP Network. And we have a Twitter chat once a week, and just learning from each other. And we use that hashtag so that we can go and see each other's ideas and what we're doing.
I love it. And one of the things that I've seen really take off with that too is the riding the school bus home. And I know you've done that as well. So tell me a little bit about, what has that experience been like for you? Was there something unexpected that you were like, I knew I was going to be riding the bus home with kids, but I didn't expect this to happen, or for me to feel this way, or for this to repercussion? Like, how did that whole experience happen for you?
So someone that I know just challenged me to do that. And they said, and one of the things that I did not expect in this role, and this will kind of go back to your initial question as well, was bus safety and bus transportation and the things that I would be faced with as an assistant principal regarding that, and the discipline of it. And, you aren't on the bus. And so it's really hard to get down to the bottom of it, and you have no control over how kids are acting on the bus. And that was a challenge for me at first. And so, I had the opportunity just to sit down with the bus drivers and say, and we just kind of talked some things out about, what can I do to support you better? Because I know I have not done a great job because I wasn't prepared for this part. And so that was one of the things when we just kind of typed out some guidelines together about what we wanted our expectations of bus safety to be. One of the commitments was that I would ride every single bus at least once a semester. And so the great thing that has come out of that, there's a number of things, but one of the things that I have loved getting to see is how invested our bus drivers are in our students. And it kind of hit me when I started riding in the afternoons, and now I've started riding more in the mornings because of our Facelift Fridays. But something that hit me is, every kid's school, if you're a bus rider, your day begins and ends on the bus. And that bus driver has a huge impact on how that kid's school day begins. And so it just gave me a really big appreciation for drivers and getting to see the joy that they have when they greet the kids or when they say goodbye to the kids every single day. And just sitting back and watching that and thinking, wow, like they make such an impact on our school's culture and our morale. And I just did not realize what a huge piece they are in the makeup of our school. And on top of that, just getting to sit with the kids. I bring my jammy pack. I don't know if y'all have a jammy pack, but they are on Amazon. It is a fanny pack with a speaker. So
I've seen it. They are hilarious.
So I wear that thing every day, and but I wear it on the bus. And so we just sing songs, the kids, and we just jam. I mean, we have fun, and getting to see where the kids live. Learning that part of their story is huge. Yeah. And hold on one second. I just had a pop up on my screen. Okay, sorry, it went away for a second.
I love that you do that, because I remember riding the bus as well, and one of my former assistant principals, I know she rides it every week too, and you just the ways that kids will connect with you, and especially if you are an administrator who is dealing with discipline at school. That's a great opportunity for you to be able to ride home with some of those kids that had a difficult day and just let them know that, you know what, it happened at school. We leave it at school. Let's go home and start fresh again tomorrow. And for them to be able to see, like, I still care about you. I may have gotten on to you, but it's not over yet. I think, and I always say when I talk about this in presentations, when you ride the bus home, you save a lot of bus drivers' jobs because they are worn out, and it's like, I saw this thing just about a week ago. I heard somebody mention it, and they said, imagine teaching your class for an hour at a time and never being able to look at them where your back is to them the whole time, and you just have a mirror and you're teaching them and you're trying to keep their attention, keep them behaved, and know everything that's going on. Like, that's the expectation for a bus driver. Yeah. So the work that they do, it's not easy to just ride a bus full of kids. It's not easy to drive a car with 3 kids in it, much less a bus with 40 in it.
Yeah.
And so I think anytime we can ride those buses home, not only do we help out our bus drivers, but we get to know the kids on a whole other level.
That's what I was going to say. It's a new level, and it's a way that you can't build that relationship like that inside the 4 walls of the school. You just don't. And man, what you learn about them, and sometimes they'll tell me, like, you got to come up with some new music that you play in the morning. I mean, it's just those candid conversations that would not take place, and there's just you can't replicate.
Well, Emily, you are a successful adult, and when you look back at your life and think about all the things that have happened, all the things you've been through, when you just reflect on that in this moment, what is one instance that you think really played a role into the woman you are today? And I know there's lots of them. We all have tons of them, but what is something that comes to mind that you think really plays a role in who you are today?
I would say the people that believed in me. And, that is my family, my parents, but I have a college professor that I still keep in touch with to this day, and he's almost 80 at this point. But just the people that saw something in me that I didn't know existed at the time. And they didn't give up, and they weren't afraid to be honest and candid and, and say, no, you can do better. Rise above it, or you are so much better than this. And just those people that constantly challenged me is what made such a difference in my expectations of what kids are capable of.
Well, thinking about those people who believe in you and having those in your corner, and now you being active on social media and sharing out the work you're doing and things like that, do you ever find yourself struggling still with that doubt or having that imposter syndrome kind of creep in? And if you do, like, how do you not let that consume you where you just cut it all out?
Yeah, you got to find the right people. And so if you just let your fears overcome you, you're never going to reach your fullest potential. And so it's all about knowing the right people to call to pull you out of it. And which is a big part of why I started the Elementary AP Network, where I'm so glad that Adam said, hey, then start this, like, find your group. And, we pull each other out of really awful situations, or, where we celebrate the wonderful ones and we build each other up. And that's what it's about.
So outside of your family and that college professor, who is someone that has played a really pivotal role in your life?
Man, there's a long list.
I know, and you don't want to offend anybody by not mentioning them. Let me preface that this is just one person. I know there's multiple.
Yeah. Okay, I've got one, and I got to meet her last week. So, this is Kim Bearden. So this is somebody that, and it was so funny. She came to a conference last week, and I got to meet her for the first time. But, several years ago, my husband and I were facing infertility. And that was just something that was really difficult in my life. And Todd, I've been able to just relate so much to your post lately about brokenness, because that was a time when it just broke me. And brokenness is okay, because you got to figure out a way to, if you allow the right people and to step in and help you through it, then you can rise above it and be better. And so that was just a time that I was really, really broken, and I happened to go to the Ron Clark Academy. And so I was bringing some teachers with me that one of them was like the one I was mentoring that year. So anyway, I say all that to say, I was sitting in Kim Bearden's classroom and listening to her share her story. And in the end, she started talking about how she had adopted her 3 sons and what she had no idea. I mean, she didn't even know I was sitting in the room. There's like hundreds of people in there. And she starts telling this story. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, my goodness, and I've got this adoption paperwork at my house that I have not filled out because of my fears, because I was letting my fears control me. And just listening to how she just dove into what her heart was telling her to do. And she didn't have that fear. She just pushed and barreled right through it. And so she played a huge pivotal role in my life, because then it just helped me to see, Emily, you got to just keep going. Like, you don't let your fears control you. And went home that weekend and ended up filling out the paperwork for adoption. And we were matched with who is now our daughter. We were matched a few days later, like within a week. It was
I love that.
And so that was probably the most difficult time in my life, because I had never been broken like that before. And I had no idea how to handle it. No idea. And then getting to just hear her story, it was exactly what I needed to hear. And that was God totally at work. And then just how it all panned out. We were matched a week later, and then Avery was born 8 months later, and she's perfect. And so
did you get to share that with Kim?
Yes. So I got to meet her, and I got my book signed by her. And then after everything was kind of ending, I went up to her and I said, "Hey, I just got to tell you something." And so we had a good little emotional moment. And but yeah, she made a huge impact, and just had no idea until 3 years later. But yeah.
She's one of those really special women. I've always said that when you meet her and spend time with her, you feel like you are the most important person in her life at that moment. She has that quality of making you feel like that. But then, like, for me, I met her at RCA as well, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is like my teacher hero now." Like, hadn't heard of her before visiting there, and then I was like, I have to be friends with this lady. And the fact that, like, she will text me now, and she has written for the forward for my book and things like that. But it's like, my wife can attest to you. Every time Kim Bearden texts me, I'm like, "Oh my God, like, Kim texts me again." And she's like, "Todd, she's your friend. Stop." And I'm like, "Yeah, but she has that quality that it's like, but she's so much more."
Yeah, I know. And I just remember sitting there in her classroom that day, and she's just telling the story. And I'm not a big crier. Like, I don't cry a lot. I mean, tears were just streaming down my face. And I thought, oh my goodness, like, she has no idea how timely this was. And, but yeah, she's amazing.
Well, you brought up a great conversation in there too, because there's a previous Tell Your Story episode with Rochelle Smith where she talks about her struggles with infertility and being an educator on top of that, and knowing that you want so deeply to start this family, and there's these things in the way, but you still got to show up to work, and you still got to love on the kids that are there for you too, and you're like battling all these things. How were you able to keep it all together and not fall apart in the midst of all of that?
Yeah. Honestly, that's what kept me together, is the kids. And really, I mean, it was about a year of my life I'm a real upbeat and happy person, but I was struggling. I was struggling. The door was slammed shut, for us. But so, work was my outlet. I hate even calling it work. It's not work. It wasn't work. My kids that I got to spend time with every day, that was my outlet. And so, I just dove in, and I became a way better teacher because of it, because I was so invested in them. And I thought, you know what, Emily, like, I was sad, but I thought, get up and go every day, because these kids need you. Like, there's a reason for it. I don't understand it, but these kids need me. And I remember that year I had a certain student in my class, and I'll just call him Michael. But I had a certain student in my class that year that I was teaching 3rd grade. But when he was in 1st grade, his mom was killed in a car wreck. And then in 2nd grade, he was living with his grandparents, and his grandmother passed away. And so then I have him in 3rd grade, and he's living in this broken world. And I remember just looking at him and thinking, why can't I help you? Like, I want to help you. And I wanted to be able to take him home, and I knew that I couldn't, and it was out of my control. But then slowly, God was shaping my heart toward a different calling. And so, when you're broken like that, you got to get up and keep going. You got to keep up. Even if you don't know where you're going, just keep moving forward, and doors are going to open up for you. And so, yeah, those kids are what got me through it. Really.
And I think you bring up a great point. When we are dealing with that grief or frustration, sometimes we just want to sit in it and
Yeah.
we just want to wallow in it. And that's when, just like you said, nothing gets better and it only gets worse. And like you said, finding ways to continue to move forward, that's how you really are able to work through that. And nobody works at the same speed and nobody gets the answers at the same time. And so now that you've got a little girl that you're raising and everything, what do you think is the biggest thing you learned about yourself since being a mother?
Oh man, since being a mother. Man. Oh goodness. About myself.
Because I know you've just started. She's only, what did you say, a year and a half old?
She's 2.5.
Two and a half.
She's 2.5. There's just no greater joy. And just the things that you get to experience with them on a daily basis and the things that you're willing to do and the selflessness, that, oh goodness, it's just, I'm doing a terrible job of answering because I'm just like,
no. It's real.
Yeah, I'll never take motherhood for granted. I can promise you that, because I thought, I went through such a time of grieving the loss of something I had always anticipated for my life, and then I was given the gift of motherhood. But one of the things that I learned that I think a lot of people don't understand through adoption is that adoption does begin with brokenness, but it's not only your own brokenness, for whatever reason, it's the brokenness of the birth mother. Right. And that's what a lot of people they don't see that side of the story because we only share the joy on social media. Right. And so one of the biggest things that I learned about motherhood is because of her, is just the selflessness that she had. She didn't want to give Avery to us, and it was just heart-wrenching facing that and seeing how, even though she didn't want to do it, she still loved her so much that she did it. And the selflessness. And so just witnessing that changed my whole perspective of motherhood and gave me such an appreciation after my own journey, and then seeing her journey and what she went through. That it, even though there's some days that aren't as easy, goodness, don't forget the small stuff. And she is just pure joy. And man, she has just lit up my life. So did that answer your question?
Yes. Well, Emily, we've talked about a wide range of things today, but the one question I always love to end these conversations on is, if there was one thing you wish more people knew or understood, what would your one thing be?
Just anything?
Anything.
Okay. Well, since we just kind of ended with this, I'll say this, because, I've loved your posts lately about brokenness, and I've just connected, and I've even reached out to you before. I just got on my soapbox one night on Instagram, like, yes, this is so good. But I wish that I had understood then, and what I would want people to know now is, whatever brokenness that you're facing, I don't know what it is, whether it be because of, a breakup, or because of a death, or because, fill in the blank. I wish that someone had told me at that time, Emily, it's okay to be sad. Being sad, there's nothing wrong with being sad, and taking the time to grieve whatever you're grieving, and but just keep moving forward. And because I've always been such a happy-go-lucky person and upbeat, and so I felt guilty. I felt guilty for grieving, and I needed somebody just to tell me, no, like, this is okay, and as long as you've got your perspective, and you keep moving forward, it's going to be okay, and you're going to be better for it on the other side. But yeah, that's just kind of to put a bow on that whole conversation. I wish that I want other people to know that. That's what I needed somebody to tell me at the time. So
I love that. That is perfect. Well, Emily, I love so much the work you're doing. You inspire me constantly. I'm always seeing this stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm sharing this. Oh, I'm doing this. And when you agreed to come on, I was thrilled just to get to have you on and get to introduce more people to you. So thank you so much, Emily.
Yeah, thank you so much. I loved it. I was honored that you asked.
Awesome. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening or watching another episode of Tell Your Story. You can check out past episodes on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you want to listen. It's there. And if you've got a free few seconds, I'd love for you to leave me a review on iTunes, as that always helps in the rankings. Thank you so much for listening to Emily's story today. Hopefully it has encouraged you and inspired you to get out there and tell your story, because like I tell you every week, every story